And then it came out with Tanya at the last meeting.
Boring.
Otherwise, I don't. Otherwise.
So what was the
Keep it under
parallel?
wraps.
So it came out with Tanya because I think, is it right that you felt disrespected?
Yeah, I was in a vulnerable place recounting a tender thing to you guys, and then Holly asked a question, and I tried to answer. I was in the midst of answering that question, where Tanya jumped in, interrupted me, and said, "No, you can't say that either.
You can't say that either. You can't say that either. You can't say that either. You can't say that either."
And I was just like, let's go. You stepped right up in here with that shit. I'll deliver it back. Thank you very much, you fucking cunt. Yes.
Like
that. You brought that. You brought that here.
Fun.
You brought that. You brought it. I'll send it right back. Thanks.
And that's all I saw. That's exactly what that's what happens in those situations.
This is interesting.
Yeah.
Because there's a dynamic I've tried to get language for, and this could be Ellie sort of viscerally transmitting the energy that abusers scapegoat their targets, and they send their toxicity to their targets. And then today's in-person meeting talked about codependents who thought they were narcissists because they absorbed all the abuse and then reactive abuse. And then they own that reaction, but if abusers are able to scapegoat and transfer that pain, and the codependent doesn't want to act it out, so that's why they restrain it and contain it and judge it harshly. Maybe that's happening here also, judging harshly people who
acted in.
Right.
Their scapegoat.
Right.
Yeah, they acted in. But if you acted in, you're eating the poison.
Right.
You're owning the scapegoated energy from the abuser. Sometimes you have to vent it out a little, so then you can differentiate this is this person's crap, so you can find yourself. But until you get some space,
I'm confused.
Getting a rebound person.
Who's in which role? In what you were just saying, I was trying to follow who's in which role of what you were describing, Deef.
Which part?
So it sounded like you were describing it. I'll just say it this way: I'm probably listening to it wrong, but it sounded like you were saying that Ellie might have been using the she might have been scapegoating bald guy with, or no, sorry, this social justice warrior girl with Tanya with something, and then being able to lash out against her, and that
Ellie was scapegoated from her grooming.
Okay, so you're saying the other way around, that
so Ellie was a scapegoat.
That Ellie was the scapegoat because Ellie was being lashed out against
from her grooming, her childhood. So
Gotcha.
Then codependents internalize that, then stuff it, restrain it. And then she's looking for containers to sort of express it, to make sense of where she is and where the scapegoated crap is. And then they can differentiate. But society doesn't allow you to express it, explore it. That's partially why pedophiles continue the channel. They get pedophilia and then they seek it out because they know it's not them. But
when Ellie
society... So the role of a shaman and the role of a person to hold space during psychedelic experiences is to create a loose containment or a space, a neutral space, to allow the person going on the trip to fully explore all the shadow material, act it out, blah, 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 or even maybe be a stand-in to help that process through. And then through that exploration and that controlled intermediary space, then that poison can be released. And a sort of different type of catharsis happens. if you were to look at narcissism, borderline abuse as an infection, and Bachman sometimes describes it that way. From an energetic level, if you've been infected and you're like a mini vampire, you almost have to dump the poison out somewhere, somehow, to get cured, or maybe you need some of that poison released out. And if it's receiving abuse, then you have to become abusive. Because if you've been on the receiving end of being beat up by that energy, you're familiar with the wound. A good abuser transfers their pain to you. Because a good abuser, they're going to attack you on their most sensitive spots. That's where if you can take an abuser's energy, you can take their weapons, and now you know what really hurts them, and then now you can systematically punish them in the most
by paying attention to what
way.
they project, kind of thing, paying attention to what they're
Yes.
trying to project on you.
The exact formula of how they're trying to hurt you is their wound, because that's the easiest way to attack somebody. If you were to try
And
to,
if someone is normal, they're going to respond to that with just, they're not going to freak out.
you're not supposed to be getting lessons, Laura. So if you want to hurt somebody, you let them fully react and blow up on you, and then you reverse engineer their strongest attacks.
Backwards, yes.
Well, that's Grannon's thing about, what does he say? He says about reverse engineering that. What's that clip, Deef? You know the one I mean, where he talks about you put the reaction first, and then everything else comes after, rather than the other way around.
Inverted language.
Inverted language. That's it.
But that's just trying to get an emotional effect. If you want to create the most pain in somebody else, you get them fully triggered and reactive, and they're going to react from their pain wound. Then you map that out, and then you figure out how to get them to publicly get that wound exposed. And then you laugh in glee from vengeance. But that's after party, so that's why we didn't talk about that earlier.
You have to let them do it to themselves.
Also,
or you can get them to do it to themselves. That's even, you could set them up so that they self-implode. That's even more
publicly.
If you're witnessing abuse on you, that's where the internalizing of the abuser comes in. Because if you internalize the abuser, then you can create a predictive map of their future abuse. And that creates some order. And if you can create a predictive map of their sadistic happiness or glee, that also can be a shield.
Right. So you don't have the blind spot, right? Like, yeah.
Because it helps create some order in the chaos.
Certainty.
But then as an adult, now you sort of see that part of, you have that capacity in you, and that's hard for codependents or survivors to own their dark side. Peterson goes into that. Learn your weapon, don't use it, however he describes it.